Hello and welcome to the Warp Shelf. I'm Frank Duran.
I'm Deshaun Vasquez.
And here with us is the Eddie Mckinnon.
Hi, everybody. I was just wandering by. I figured I'd stop in and say hi.
The podcast king himself is deemed to come into our studio today. Thank you so much.
I always love doing this show. It's very fun. I don't do it enough, but I really would like to.
No, thank you for coming on again. You are our only guest so far.
Yeah,
we only keep bringing you back.
Sure.
Just because it's so awesome to have you. So
Yeah, if you ever do like an end of the year awards and you like start having guests, the best guest award should be named after me.
Yeah, they're like the Eddie best guest award, which we do want to. I want to say that right off the bat is that we have moved to the Galaxy Geek YouTube page. That's where you're seeing this. Subscribe. We want to bring and diversify our content. We want to try to do more things. We want to do some reaction videos, stuff like that. So, hit that subscribe button. We don't do advertisements early off, but you have a new podcast network. So I want to bring that up like almost right away.
So I just launched the Asylum Podcast Network. It is a podcast.
Very funny.
Yeah, it is under the umbrella of Improv Asylum, a Boston-based improv comedy theater. So we launched with four podcasts, which is really exciting. Picture this: Yes and Dragons, One If by Land, Two If by Tea, and Cruise Control. And so they're all, humorous podcasts in different forms, but they're all kind of different genres.
Yeah, I absolutely love One If by Land, Two If by Tea. First off, a fantastic title. As the guys who came up with Real Books Don't Have Batman, fantastic title. I love it, and it's funny because I was listening to it this morning, and I was just like immediately like, and I'm back in my history class. I love this. Yeah. You're just like transported right there.
It's really fun. So One If by Land, Two If by Tea, and I'll do the whole spiel because I am the host of that show. Is a history comedy podcast in where a real-life history teacher teaches his art school friend all the things he should have learned in school when he was fucking around. And so I am said art school student. We all went to the same college.
All of us.
And
our now defunct school.
Yeah.
Not to say anything.
It's really fun because every single time I think of that school, I think of the show Community. I think of
give you a little glimpse at what that was like.
Just watch Community, and it was like we were the paintball fight away from being that school. And
seriously, 1 second away.
Yeah, like if we all just decided like, hey, Thursday is paintball day, and we're all just going to start shooting each other with paintball guns, it would have been Community.
It was wild passing by it when I had first moved back out here. Just like, oh, I'm on the green line. I'm like, oh, there it used to be.
On the other side, next to the weed dispensary, which talk about poor timing.
Right?
Yeah,
like you missed the target audience.
You missed the target audience.
The art students are gone.
Yeah. There's this, they like replaced the sign, but they didn't like power wash the side of the building. So the dirt that had accumulated around the sign
sums it up so well.
is still there.
Sums it up so well.
What a perfect metaphor.
So you can see it in like a shadow. It's like a haunting ghost of student debt past.
Yeah, you're like, the things we all truly fear.
Yeah.
But thank you for coming on the show, Eddie. And we're gonna do kind of a more relaxed episode, guys. You already know it. It's a filthy casual episode where we lean back and we act like pretty much
every other podcast on the planet. Where they just talk
we usually
about
do
shit.
some deep dives, and try to go, really nitty gritty on films and TV shows. But today we're just gonna go and talk about what we've seen, watched, done.
Sure.
And then, of course, we're going to talk about... Sean's going to talk about the Anime Awards a little bit, briefly, and why Godzilla is not the winner, and I don't know why. And we're going to talk about the Nintendo Direct the other day, which I know this is a week out, but it's like we still got feelings, we still got things to think about. And then the Oscars, which of course is a constant battle in seeing all of these movies, but we're going to talk about which ones we've seen. Basically, Deshaun, what have you been watching?
What have I been watching? As far as movies are concerned, not much in the way of new things.
No.
Other than like the stuff I had already talked about in our year in review.
Yeah.
That like were like right on the cusp. Like I've been going to the Coolidge a lot more lately again because I missed it when I was gone.
Thumbs up.
And not in this area. So like I saw Licorice Pizza, I saw Nightmare Alley, I saw Drive My Car. Did not expect all three of those to be Best Picture nominees. Right. So I'm like, this works.
Drive My Car, I was like, really? I was like, good, like it's like keep that weird trend up, Oscars, of being like one foreign film, but please give more foreign films in that category.
I also
Jesus
saw
Christ, but
both South Park COVID specials. Now that I'm bumming off of your Paramount Plus,
what?
Those are funny as hell.
That's also free from T-Mobile, so I didn't fucking pay for it either.
And I also saw the Clerk, the recent Kevin Smith documentary that came out.
Oh,
yeah, that's out.
And I know you're a big Kevin Smith fan. How was it?
It was good.
Yeah? Is it worth it for non-fans, or is it like...
Non-fans, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
a little inside baseball, but...
I've seen Kevin Smith speak like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
I keep ending up in situations. So I lived in Los Angeles, and he like kept doing talks at places,
right?
And I was broke and not doing anything. So I kept going. And then I went to like a bunch of the nights with Kevin Smith. And I've like met him a couple of times.
That's awesome.
He's fantastic.
Yeah, right. He's a nice. I've heard he's just the nicest.
Yeah,
guy.
he was super.
You
nice
met
to
him
me.
at Boston Comic Con,
Rhode
right?
Island.
Rhode Island.
He was
Comic
at Rhode
Con.
Island. Yeah, that was fun. Got to take a picture with him and pretty much the entire Clerks cast.
That's fun.
So that was a lot of fun.
Pretty nice. Yeah, it's just like one of those things where it's like they're like, don't meet your heroes, don't meet your heroes. Kevin Smith, it's worth meeting that guy.
So far, there have been 2 like legitimate heroes. You know what I mean? And I don't want to say hero, but like 2 legitimate people that you
guys you looked up to.
In some way or shape or form. Kevin Smith is one of them. Just in terms of like my career and what I do. Very similar in terms of like, if I was you, I would be very happy doing what I'm doing.
Right.
And so that's kind of the goal. The other person is former WCW champion Bill Goldberg. When I was doing the New Age Insiders, my co-host there and old roommate, his whole deal was he loved Bill Goldberg. And we met him doing a wrestling convention. And it sparked this very weird kind of friendship. And
I love shit like that.
Like, the dude is the best. Like, he's super, super nice. He's just like, just a cool guy. We're at WrestleMania. He's getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. He gives us a call and is just like, hey, my brother's not going to be able to make it. I got a couple of extra tickets to the Hall of Fame. You want to come? And so we're just sitting there next to like his parents. Yeah, and it's just like, and everybody knows each other in this section because we're in the friends and family section. So like all of the inductees, and so like, but so far, the 2 heroes, glad I met them.
Right? It's nice. It's nice when it turns out. You're like, all right, that's really nice. I mean, yeah, for us, I think like Scott Snyder was one of the nicest dudes we've ever run into. He wrote a lot of Batman, and the man's like...
And like Mark Waid and Gail Simone.
Oh, yeah, they're all extremely nice people. I feel like most of comics, other than Neil Adams, was really nice to us.
Sure.
Yeah, and then Neil Adams was our only like, wow, a hero, and he was like, you stupid fuckers.
Yeah, you know who I met and I thought was just like an absolute dick? Was Bill Murray.
No!
Yeah, Bill Murray, not a nice guy.
I mean, he's living on another level. That's all I say, right?
That doesn't really surprise me.
Yeah, he's a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
So,
it's like I hear that about. Sorry to say it, a lot of comedians are fucking like, it sucks because it's like, do they use comedy as a coping mechanism for other problems?
Most of the time, yeah.
Most of the
time.
I hear stories about like Bill Murray getting cast and stuff, and the directors and stuff being like, he might show up the day we're scheduled to shoot. We hired him, and he said he'll be here, and we just don't. He just ghosts them for a while, and then by some miracle he shows up on time. Like he just works in and out of the world.
It's weird.
It's so funny.
I mean, he lives rent free in my head constantly. So it's like, it's like, oh well, it's okay.
Yeah,
and it's fine, I guess.
Yeah, it's fine.
But it's hard when you're like, oh yes, this person I'm so excited to meet. You're like, ooh.
Yeah,
they mean. You're like no. But movies and TV you've been watching, Eddie?
So I have been rewatching like I'm gonna say the back catalog of stuff, but like I'm talking about the back catalog of like shows I started watching in the mid 2000s and then like just stopped watching and never finished. During the entire...
Which is what the age of streaming is for.
Yeah.
I feel like getting back to things.
Right. During the pandemic, I completed Criminal Minds.
Holy shit.
That's
so many. How many seasons is that? That's like
it's like
15.
10.
Yeah,
it's like 10 or 12.
All 22, 24 episodes.
All of them.
Oh,
every single episode. Every single episode. Then I watched Hawaii Five-0.
New one?
The new one.
What?
That show. That
Wait,
show.
is that any good?
Oh, it is a cacophony of nonsense. I absolutely love it. I love it so much because the premise of this show is that there's this like Navy commander that like his dad was getting killed by this arms dealer he was chasing. So the governor of California had him create a task force that could like operate kind of outside the law, but for the law. And they just
But it's through the government. You're like,
Yeah,
wait, hold on.
yeah, it's
You're like, wait.
they have immunity and they're just like, okay, we have immunity, so they just basically do morally gray shit. But the funniest part about it, and I laugh every single time, is they walk into situations and they're just like, hi, I'm Lieutenant Commander Stephen McGarrett with the 5-0 Task Force. And everybody's like, oh, yes, of course. And what's even funnier is like the first couple of seasons were strictly 100% in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Like, it's just Hawaii.
Okay, that's the show.
After that, they start like venturing out for episodes. And it's funny when he goes into a room in the middle of Baghdad and is just like, Lieutenant Commander Stephen McGarrett of the 5-0 Task Force. And they're like, oh, right, of course. Let's right this way, sir. And it's just like, how the fuck do you know about this?
You're like, wait a minute.
This unlawful task force in Hawaii. It's also like basic like cable violence.
Yeah, everything's
So-
pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, so like it's
Duck.
very basic, very basic. So it's like they start to tell dramatic stories, but like where it would take that left turn on like, you know, FX or USA or AMC, everything gets wrapped up in a nice bow at the end. Scott Kahn plays one of the characters, and he's constantly just getting shot in the exact same place on his arm throughout
You're
the
like,
entire.
that's gotta be a big scar, dude. That's
Yeah.
huge.
How do you still have an arm at this point? So started watching that, and I highly recommend it. Currently working through CSI. I also
Original?
yeah, the original. Yeah, and so I'm working my way through that.
Which is always just like, is CSI going to solve this? No,
Yeah.
You bet your ass.
Oh,
Gonna solve it.
and so they also have a bunch of funny things. The funniest one to me is when they have like a picture, they have like a photo of a person, and they're like, hold on, what's that in the background? And they like have to like zoom in, and I just laugh and just go, the fuck off. Like, as somebody that consistently edits photos, fuck you.
Yeah, you're like, that's not how we know.
But I'm just like, look, yeah, you can zoom in there, but I hope you realize that whatever 1999
Right? That
4
one
megapixel camera.
picture, you're like, fuck no.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't care how much, like, you know, clickety click enhance, clickety enhance, MacGuffin bullshit you have. You can't make that sharp. I know, because I have a 30 megapixel camera and I get pissed because I got grain in my blacks.
It's so true. You're like, what? Wait, no. Like,
No!
That's not how this works.
That's
at
not
all.
how this works. And simultaneously, because I always like to have a like a serious show,
Yes.
and a funny show. So
Gotta have balance.
So I actually I'm working through South Park because I didn't watch any of the COVID specials or any of that because I was like, oh, I haven't
Caught up.
I haven't caught up. Like, I'm a few seasons behind. And
Which they do, like, keep jokes going.
right.
You're in the best possible spot. I go through periods throughout the years with South Park where I just drop it for a few
Right.
years and then catch up on like 7 seasons.
Right.
And I'm caught up now, and I fucking hate being caught up.
Yeah, it's funny because I look at it and I'm like watching this. So I'm halfway through season 3 right now, and so I watched the movie
Oh yeah.
I watched the movie and then continued, and it's just like, oh my god, I remember all of this.
Yeah, right. You're like, whoops.
No.
This is a flashback.
Yeah, and so those are the movies that I've been watching.
Nice.
I mean, the TV shows. Movies, it's just kind of all over the place. I've watched some weird shit.
Watch some weird shit.
Watched some weird shit, but I mostly just kind of I've been actually watching like a lot of like YouTube stuff.
Yeah, right.
I find myself more in that as I like work.
Yeah, when I'm working, it's kind of, like a Cody Ko or a Noel Miller or Curtis Connor, somebody like that.
Yeah,
doing reactions, Hasnabi, something like that.
I watch a lot of camera stuff.
Nice.
So Peter McKinnon.
Oh,
I love his stuff. He's great if you like camera stuff. He does great travel stuff. Matty Hopoya, Chris Howe, and then Becky and Chris.
yeah.
I don't know if you've ever seen Becky and Chris.
I don't think I have.
So he's a surgeon, and she is one of us. And so she's like a graphic designer, runs a little YouTube, does photography, does videography, but they own a helicopter. They like own a helicopter, or he flies helicopters, whatever. The husband flies helicopters and is a surgeon, and they just like go on helicopter adventures.
Oh my God.
And it's like, this is very fun and well shot. And
Yeah, you're like, damn.
I really like this. And then they have a video podcast, or it's a podcast, and it also has a video component so you can watch or listen. And it's called Tuxedo Time. And all they do is wear sweatpants and then talk about stuff, and it's very good.
Sounds nice.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Chris and Becky, you said?
Becky and Chris.
Becky and Chris. Have the other way around. So I've been watching, of course, I've been storming through some Gundam. I think the last time we talked with the Filthy Casual episodes, I had just started G Gundam, I think. And that G Gundam was fucking fantastic. It just brought it's a different era of like shows, like where you could be like absolutely ridiculous, absolutely badass, and also questionable at all times.
Yeah, sure. That is my favorite one, only because like all of the other ones are very much like, I don't want to say one note, but like fairly one note of like, war's bad.
War's bad.
War's bad.
War's bad. I mean, that's the part I love. I'm like, yes, war is bad.
And this one is like, what if all the Gundams were pro wrestlers?
But I also love that like all the world's governments also went, okay, whoever wins this wrestling match, can run the world. Fuck it, who cares?
Yeah, you're just in charge.
You're like, that's how we do government now.
Look, here's the thing. I vote for this system. I think that we should take it to the Senate.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. It's like, look, here's the thing. I saw Rocky IV, right? If I learned anything, I learned a lot, but if I learned anything from Rocky IV, it's that one, Burning Hearts is a fantastic montage song.
Yes, it is.
Okay? 2, training in a horse barn, better than a state-of-the-art gym.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah. 3, if yous guys can change, then we's guys can change, and the Cold War ends because Rocky fought Drago.
That was the most offensive change in that director's cut that came out recently for Rocky IV, was that they used a different take for, I can change, you can change, everybody can change, and it wasn't as over the top, and I'm like, this isn't canon.
No, no, director, you're wrong. You had it.
No, Stallone, you're wrong.
Yeah, no, you're wrong. The first one was better. But if Rocky can fight Drago and the Cold War can end, then we can figure out how to make giant robot suits and just have Putin and Biden like just pilot them and see what happens.
That would be a bitchin' fight.
Yeah.
It's sort of G Gundam.
Right.
You're like, why is that old man fighting in that Gundam? And you're like, who gives a shit? Let them fight.
Yeah.
Like,
how is this old man so spryly that he can just be in this VR simulator?
yeah, you're like, okay.
It's like, all right.
All
And
right.
they're also Saiyans? Is that they just turn gold?
You're like, all right.
Okay.
It's so true, though. They're
Okay.
Just like, they're like, he's a Saiyan now. And
Yeah.
you're like, okay, he's a Saiyan.
I have a tattoo on my hand sometimes.
We all do.
Yeah.
Actually, we all
Well,
do.
everybody. We have a tattoo on our hands sometimes.
To be fair, it's like, did Yu-Gi-Oh steal that from them? They were like, yes, the friendship tattoo. That should transfer to all of us. You're
Yes,
like, no.
Well, it's like I had to give you powers without telling you you're an alien. So, because look,
Like, no one say new type in this show. No one say new type.
so because like somehow I watched all of Dragon Ball into like I'm like in the middle of Super.
Nice.
And that was the biggest shock and change, where it was like, oh, all of a sudden one day his brother shows up. Surprise, I'm your brother and you're an alien. It's like, and everybody's just like, huh, that explains the tale. And it's like, there's a fucking talking pig right there. What are you talking about? That you were confused that this boy had a tail.
A pig in an army.
Yeah.
He was a fucking general. Like,
Yes.
You're like, what?
The
Yeah.
funny thing is, he actually calls it. There's a gag in the first arc where he first turns into a great ape, and he's like, "What is with this kid? Is he an alien or something?" I'm like, Oolong fucking called this early on.
Yeah, that poor guy. And then all of them just get forgotten.
They're just like, no,
It's like they do such a good job at the end of Dragon Ball of like making everybody feel like kind of special.
Yeah.
And then everybody's just like, oh, never mind. They're actual gods now. They're gods. So
you're like, so they can't even compete. So
yeah. Tien, I know that at one point you were like the baddest man on the planet, but like I'm pretty sure that baby is stronger than you.
right. It's the same thing with Piccolo. I love Piccolo, but they were definitely like, from the biggest, baddest villain in the entire show to, we're going to use you to show that the new villain is really bad.
You mean Green Dad?
Green Dad.
Yeah, that's Gohan's real dad. We have that same moment that we have in Guardians of the Galaxy 2,
Yeah.
where Yondu just looks at Star-Lord and is just like, look, he might be your father, but I'm your dad.
I know. I sort of hope in Superhero Gohan there is that moment where he's just like,
At some point, they have to acknowledge it, right? Where
that Goku is the worst father.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like, come on. Like,
come on.
Let's be real here. This man abandoned his family several
Look,
times.
here's the thing. We can
Circumstances, all right?
He may be dead, but he abandoned them.
we can all agree that at some point there was a prophecy that said you were the most powerful among us, and then your family fucked the whole thing up. Like, oh, we could only use, he could be the greatest protector. Instead, we're just gonna have Dad keep die, death, repeat, like resurrect, repeat over here. And so he's just going to keep doing that when it's just like, I don't know, maybe if we put some time into you would have just been able to be the superhero that you wanted to be.
That you literally dressed as.
Chi-Chi, you're terrible.
Yeah, you're like Chi-Chi jam.
Yeah.
If we're talking, it's like, yeah, it's not like Goku's just a bad father. Chi-Chi's a bad mom.
Yeah, she's
You're
a
like-
bad mom.
you're like,
She's very selfish. She's very selfish. She doesn't understand the fate of the world. Just, like, come on, man.
You're like, damn, even Bulma gets this.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell?
Look, there's something weird going on with Bulma and Vegeta. She likes being slapped around. I gotta believe that.
You're like, what? You're like,
Yeah.
sir, what?
Yeah. She was super duper bossy throughout all of everything, and then Vegeta shows up and she's like, yes, sir. It's like, yeah.
I don't want to say it, but you can feel it. I have been other things I've been storming through. I watched Mobile Suit Gundam: The Origin, which was quite good. It's basically like, what about if we made this Game of Thrones? And you're like, okay. Like, you're like, I'm in. And they're like, what if we also made Casval / Shar / the Red Comet into Anakin Skywalker? And you're like, okay.
Just the idea of like, because you had just made the joke of war is bad. People ask, why is war bad? But no one ever asked how war is bad.
Yeah, right.
It's so true, though.
Yeah.
And then I did Bob's Burgers season 12, which I'm very excited for the new movie. I hope that's good.
I shot a video once.
One time.
One time. I only did it once. I never did it again. It was very good, and I decided to stop. That was a Bob's Burger, like, VH1 behind the music.
Oh, my God.
And so a friend of mine, he wrote the whole thing and he directed it. And it was like, he looked around and a bunch of our other friends that were performers at Improv Asylum all either looked or sounded like every single Bob's Burgers character.
That's awesome.
So I'll have to send you the link to the video because it's pretty spot on, and I don't watch the show that much.
I've only seen it bits and pieces.
Yeah.
So I'm not super into it either.
And then I did step into kind of the meta Gundam shows to get away from Warbad.
Yeah.
I was like, I love this. I love what you're trying to say. I need some fun. I was like, and so I did Gundam Build Divers, Re-Rise, Gundam Build Fighters, and Gundam Build Fighters Try, which you're like, oh, okay. So many. But
so many
the
shows.
important thing to know is that the first one, Builders, it's very like, what if we did SAO with Gundam? And you're like, please no. and then they did, but Re-Rise is actually really good because they're like, but what if it was real life? And they like somehow they weren't in the twist is that they weren't in the Gundam game. They were actually transported to another dimension. So they've been killing people the whole time. And you're like, oh no!
You got an Ender's Game.
Yeah, you're like, shit.
No, that's a bait and switch.
And you're like, okay, that's pretty good. But the best of them all is Build Fighters because it is just G Gundam, but in this meta thought.
Great.
Because they're just like, but what if they were wrestling? And you're like, okay. And they bring in everything. They're like, we're gonna throw the whole fucking kitchen sink at this shit, and it's actually quite funny. And you're like, oh, all right, cool. I did watch the absolutely fantastic Snakes on a Plane. Finally saw it for the first time.
The first time?
For the first time, I've seen, of course, I've seen it on TV, and I've probably seen the whole thing a billion times. But it's one of those things where I never like sat down and was like, we're gonna watch Samuel Jackson kick some snake ass. For 2 hours almost. You're just like,
you don't get the full feeling of that movie unless you see that snake bite that man's dick.
Yeah, right. You saw the TV version. You didn't.
See it.
You didn't see it.
You didn't know.
One of the more creative censorship lines, though.
Yeah.
The Monday to Friday plane.
Yeah.
This monkey plane. You're just like, goddamn. But it's funny because I've seen Cobra Starship, who does the end song. I've seen them a couple times in concert, and they're like sort of coming back. But like one of those things where
they had a song. What was their song?
I should watch this. Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah. There's another. They got another song.
Oh,
that I'm thinking of. They had a very popular one.
Yeah. What is it? The 30 something. Fucking. You're just like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I have the vast universe in my pocket.
It's all right here.
It's all right here.
And I did get back to my Gundam and watched 0080, which is the first. It's the Christmas Gundam. They're like, it's a Christmas Gundam.
Yeah.
Of course, the real lesson is, you never had to fight in the first place. Like, there was no point. And it's actually one of the saddest and one of I can see why people go, this might be the best Gundam.
Right.
It's succinct. It's only like 6 episodes long. It has an awesome opening song. It's quite good. Definitely one of those where you're like, I see now. And then I did see finally. And I can't believe I finally watched this. Along Came Polly.
Okay. Sure.
Which me and my wife were just gonna watch it because we were like, is this one of those movies where it's just like a weird manic pixie fantasy for like the Ben Stiller character? And yes, it is.
More or less. Yeah.
It's like, oh, she finally made me interesting, and I'm like, I don't know if she did that, bro. Like you're just like, I don't know.
I guess if you feel better about it, but.
And then yesterday, I really pumped out some fucking movies on HBO. I watched a bunch of animated DC movies.
Okay.
I watched Injustice, which was completely useless.
Yeah.
Just play the game. Just guys, save yourself time. They already animated the movie. It's in the game. Don't fucking watch this animated movie. And I don't usually say that because I'm a big fan of the DC movies. Skip this one.
Okay.
Make sure that this is the worst one so people don't fucking... They don't think they should remake game cinematics in a fucking movie again. Because I was like, guys, they already did it better. It looked so much better when it actually had blood in it. And they're like, no, PG-13. And you're like, with Injustice? You're like, they try to add some blood, but it's so just like, they don't even do the Joker through the chest as graphic as they should have, you know. That's the thing, is the Injustice comic is even better than this, you know. Like everything other than this, you're like, you should you should check out.
Right.
Then the Mortal Kombat Legends Battle of the Realms. Which is the sequel to what we called the best Mortal Kombat
Scorpion's Revenge.
Scorpion's Revenge is the best Mortal Kombat movie. It's on HBO Max. Dude, guys, if you're like, wow, those Mortal Kombat movies sucked, you're good. The animated movie's fucking banger.
I hated that new one.
Oh, yeah, dude. We do a whole episode because it's so bad.
It was like, in a lot of ways, a step in the right direction, but also really stupid.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, here's your plot armor. And you're like, what?
Yeah, Cole Young, the literal plot armor character.
It is so annoying because that character didn't need to exist.
No.
And
because you're like, it's a Mortal Kombat. There's so many characters.
There's so many characters. You could have picked one of the interesting ones and just followed them. It could have just been about Sonya. But anyway, the problem I have with Cole, right? I guess that's his name, if I'm remembering correctly.
You're like the gold dude.
Yeah. The whole movie, he's like seeing flashbacks of Scorpion. And it's like, oh, Scorpion's dead. He is
So he's going to possess his guy's body.
So that is his like power. Yeah. His power is he just resurrects and becomes
Final Fantasies
he Ghost Riders. He's just Ghost Rider.
That's it. That's Ghost Rider. Which I would be okay with.
Right.
That's what happened.
Right. But no, he gets a completely different set of fucking powers. And then when the director was asked about it, he was just like, yeah, like I thought it wasn't going to be a big deal. It's like, oh, you fundamentally did not understand the assignment.
If you think about even the last Mortal Kombat game, that's a huge roster of characters.
Yeah.
It's gigantic. And that's the crazy thing about these movies. The Mortal Kombat Legends, they just go, our main character's Johnny Cage.
Yeah, sure.
And you're like, yes, sure, that makes sense to me.
Sure.
You know, like, and it works. And of course, it's Joel McHale as Johnny Cage, so it really does work. It's like, you're like, if there's a guy you're always supposed to hate, it's Joel McHale.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, that works really well. And then next up, I watched Justice Society World War II, which I liked because it's actually got fantastic action. I think that DC anime movies have really good action, but this was like, oh, we're doing something here.
Right.
Like, there's this great sequence where they're like, the Nazis, because World War II, they're shooting motors. The Nazis are shooting motors at her while she's running through like 4 buildings. And it's just incredible. It's one of those moments where you're like, this is almost like the Wonder Woman movie, you know, like where it feels like World War I again. And you're like, this is nice. But then they kind of shoot themselves in the foot because then they go, oh, but Aquaman's a secret Nazi. You didn't see that fucking coming. And then all the Atlanteans attack. So it's not a big ending of fighting Nazis. It's a big ending of fighting Atlanteans, which is the end of Flashpoint. Yeah. The end of so many other Aquaman stories. So you're kind of like, wait, you had something really great. What? Yeah. Why did we? Whoa! What happened? You know, like I kind of wanted to see because
why does everybody hate Aquaman?
Yeah, you're like, geez, let him not. Like, I mean, you're like, you were all mad about Captain America being a secret Nazi. It's like you should be mad if Aquaman's a fucking secret Nazi too. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's more water than land. Like, you should be scared about that.
You should be worried about this. It's like I enjoyed the movie, but that really like I felt like they shot themselves in the foot, and then it was very in that way very Flashpointy, where it was just like, oh, it's another dimension, so it's okay, you know. Like it's but then if I had another dimension, I would make Wonder Woman kill Hitler. That'd be more fun. Let's fucking do that. Let's do Wolfenstein if we're gonna fucking do another dimension. Let's fucking kill some Hitlers here.
Yeah. DC and everybody in like from like on like the Warner Brothers end are really stupid.
What?
Their whole thing is just like, look, I know this works exclusively in comic books, but we're just gonna tell stories, and like, there's gonna be 15 people playing Batman.
Yeah, you're like, it's gonna be okay.
Who cares? And it's just like, no, I think everybody is just asking you to just do the Marvel thing, like just literally the blueprint, just individual movies, team up movie. Individual movies, team up movie,
which they almost do with the animated connected universe. With they're like, oh look, and we did all these separate movies, and now Justice League Dark, where we connect those stories, and you're like, you guys are doing something. And then they're like, they finished that universe, and they were like, we're never doing that again. Fuck that. We're gonna do random stories, and you're like, wait, hold on.
At the same time, it is kind of cool that we can not focus too much on just canon shit and just be like, fuck it. There's a Batman over here. There's a Batman over here. There's a Batman over here. There are no rules anymore.
The thing is that if and I talk about this all the time, is that movies have changed, right? Because the predominant medium has become television because everybody's televisions and sound systems at home are so wonderful, right? Like, you couldn't see these larger than life stories at home.
Back in my day, it was at 32 CRT.
Yeah, right? You know? It was heavy, and I had rabbit ears.
And sometimes I touched it and it buzzed.
And God help you if you walk too close with a magnet. But the movies have to become spectacles.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And so when you're doing something like this, to get people to consistently go to the theaters, you do need these franchises.
Yeah.
And the problem is that the cat's out of the bag, right? Like, the average movie-going audience, like, that consumes the superhero content.
Yeah.
They want it to all interconnect.
Yeah, they want a universe.
You know?
It's like they want to jump into something.
Right. Because I always say that the 22, like, Marvel movies that made up the, like, Infinity Saga.
We already passed, like, James Bond in movies. You're like, what happened?
Yeah.
This was so fast.
But it was like, I've been talking about that as season 1.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I would say so.
Like, that's all one season of television. And it was played out over a decade. You know, and I think that people appreciate that. And it's, you know, and DC just...
I do think it can be a hindrance into getting into it, obviously. Yeah. You don't want to gatekeep by yourself by being like, there's too much content. Because I bring up Gundam because it's obviously super hard to get into Gundam. But you're like, where the fuck do I start? And I always tell people, wherever you want to start, because it's all something.
Yeah,
you know?
It's always frustrating with that. And you do see a lot in anime because it's like, there's 15 versions of a thing.
Of Berserk. Like, you're like, it's like, Deshaun, which Berserk do I watch? You know, like,
you read it.
And it's like, where do I start One Piece? And they're like, first episode to never stop until you're dead. And you're like, oh my God, please.
Yeah, I tried that and I was like, oh, I don't know. Then I started I started watching My Hero Academia.
Which I love.
Yeah, we're big fans.
I love that show. That show's fantastic.
I think it's because it's finally like what you wanted X-Men to be, sort of. You know?
Sure.
You wanted.
Okay, sorry, that's what I wanted X-Men to be.
Let's take out the like social justice and let's insert the fun.
That's basically it.
Hold on, I'm not saying that. Hold on, I'm not saying that. Code. But I am saying that, like, it is cool to finally do a full superhero world and it not feel like, oh, there's too many fucking heroes everywhere.
Yeah, right.
You know, like, you're like, who is that guy? They're always like, his captions underneath him. Don't you worry. He's
we'll
right
fully explain it.
Yeah, Frank's famously wasn't the X-Men kid growing up. I was the X-Men kid growing up.
It's not that I still watch the show, and of course X-Men Extreme. The man had spikes in his arms. What the fuck? I'm not gonna not
bringing back the old cartoon.
Right. I am down for that.
It's gonna be awful.
I mean, it's like Disney, I think, has a good track record with its animated shows, Disney Plus. But it is one of those things where you're like,
well, here's the thing. You think you want that. You think you do. You don't actually want that, because what's going to happen is they're going to draw it. The animation is going to be a little off.
A little different.
Because they're definitely not going to do it the way that they animated
it's too expensive.
it. Yeah. So there's going to be a digital sheen over it. So it's already not going to look the same. And then they're either going to do one of two things. They're either going to go super 90s and try extremely hard to like emulate the attitude of the 90s, which somebody here sitting in 2022 is going to go, that was 25 years ago.
Like,
so
you can't say that. It wasn't that far back.
Don't say it like that.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, 1995. So
yeah, that's the thing, is like, I know people have been calling for a Gargoyle revival.
Yeah.
And you're like, you don't want a continuation of Gargoyle.
Right.
It's like, you want a new thing, you know?
Yeah.
Because it just wouldn't be the same. Even if they, like, really did, like, stuck to the episodes, it would still feel strange.
Very rarely does something like Futurama or Family Guy, you know, get canceled and then brought back.
Yeah.
Right? And even those, you're talking about like
Years,
at most
like a couple years.
At most 5 years, right?
Not 30.
Not 30. You know what I mean? And like that's the problem. The problem is that it's not going to be the thing you remember.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've done this exercise, but I have.
Exercise.
Yeah. And watch the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Oh, yes. Especially the movie. I love
that show. That show should not work.
No.
It should have not worked. It is nonsense. Watching it with like not a 5-year-old brain. Just like actually, like watching it with somebody that like actually understands like plot and story structure. There's a couple of things that just annoy the hell out of me. The first episode, they all show up and he's like, "You're Power Rangers now." They have 0 questions. They're like, "Cool, let's do this." And
Isn't
then
that the optimism of the 90s?
Yeah.
They're like, superpowers. Thank you.
Thank you. We got this. And then they go fight bad guys. And so they go and do that. Then like 10 episodes later, for some odd reason, Kimberly finds herself in a plane with her uncle, and Rita Repulsa puts a spell on her uncle that puts him to sleep. And so now she is freaking out because she's like, "I don't know how to fly a plane." And I'm like, "Bitch, are you for real? You're the only one that pilots something that flies."
No, oh my God. You're like, wait a minute.
Like, and so how dare you? How dare you, Saban? How dare?
Funny. I don't know
How dare you? You literally could have picked any of the other ones. Any of the other ones, and they would have been like, "Look, I know how to pilot a gigantic Tyrannosaurus Rex robot, but a plane? Are you crazy? I'm colorblind."
But not to bring it back to Snakes on a Plane, even Mckinnon fucking lands the plane just playing Microsoft Aircraft Simulator.
Sure.
Which I was like, this is a genius like placement for a game. You're like, I've never seen a better like advertisements other than like what's the one where they do all the Nintendo World Championships all together in the movie.
You're talking about the Wizard?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, boy.
Which, Eddie, I must ask you the very important question: is Wizard calling things Wizard back? Because they said it in Boba Fett, they said it in Eternals. I watched Eternals. That's the other movie I'm about to talk about.
Oh God, I hated that movie.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Because
we have the 3 fucking porridges
Yeah,
over
we
here
got the
because I came out of it like, that was all right.
Oh, I was
He came out of it like he liked it a lot apparently, and you didn't like it.
I was irrationally mad.
Because I was like, I immediately was like, this is sort of a beautiful meditation on Eternal's life and like living a long time. What happens when you live a long time? I was like, oh, so interesting.
and
So
unique.
If you've taken a script writing class,
Oh yes, that's my real issue though.
you might have heard this term, and the term is get to the fucking. And that's the problem with the movie.
Fucking.
Not only is there very minimal fucking, but
Hey, it has the one only sex scene in all the Marvel universe, man.
yeah, good for them, I
The
guess.
only people fucking in the entire universe are the people who live forever. Every other Avenger, celibate.
Celibate. Except for that one lady that bones that robot because she made a wish and the blue fairy made that dildo sentient.
Oh my God. Do you think the White Vision still those different?
Yeah. Maybe. Now she's going to have 2.
Questions.
She's going to have 2. It's going to be wild.
Oh, God.
You got to pay extra. That's
Multiverse of Madness.
See,
is
that's-
getting a little mad.
That's also Disney Plus. You know what I'm saying? So, but in the Eternals, it was like, okay, here's the thing. You have a very, very long story that you want to tell. The pacing was a nightmare because you kept flashing back to every single one of the characters, but then the present was never really moving along at any sort of
serious
pace.
pace. Yeah.
They were just kind of meandering through until it was like, the world's going to end and you got to do something. And they're like, okay. The villain that you thought was going to be the villain throughout the whole time was inconsequential, stupid, and added.
Yeah, I will say the deviant villain.
Yeah.
And I will say that's kind of very close to the actual comic, the actual like Grant Morrison run of it. He very much is just like, they're here for us to punch.
Yeah.
It's
I don't mind that twist. The problem was that there wasn't that interaction between like Icarus and the Deviant, where they have that like
understanding
heat moment where they're like, yes, we both need each other to do what we do. You know what I mean? Like you do, like they didn't have this weird mutual understanding, or like that moment never came. And
then for Angela Jolie to take him down is questionable. You're like, why wasn't it Icarus? Like,
right.
You're like, wait, hold on. Like, I like that she's able to finally like snap out of it and show she's strong, but you're like, we already knew she was strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was just like, okay, fine. And then Sprite being like, it's Pinocchio, and like Tinkerbell, and like, okay, get out of here.
Just primary thing is that it wants to be epic, but it's just not.
Well,
it's just not.
My big issue ultimately is you have a streaming service. That should have been a show.
Big names.
I know, but like that would have been like must see. But it's like if that's a 10-part series where we follow each Eternal, and like actually deep dive into like this is what I was doing during this time we didn't talk.
Right.
That would have been great. And then Falcon and the Winter Soldier should have been a movie. like, because that should have been 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And we're done.
Done. Walked away. I agree.
Because I loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And
Up until the end.
And
I think.
I liked all of it.
Yeah.
I really liked all of it. But I felt like they dragged everything out just a little too long, because it's like, oh, well, I need a whole episode on this. So instead of like the freight container where they like go and find the doctor with the super soldier serum and stuff, like that could have been a big action set piece. And so we have that, and that pads out the runtime, as opposed to like more bonfire discussions as to whether or not the bad guy super soldiers are bad guy super soldiers. Like we could have shrunk that down. You know what I mean? So
it's true. I think there's some questionable like back and forth where it's like, you know, Hawkeye was supposed to be a movie first, and of course it works better as a TV show, and you're like, oh, this obviously works better, you know?
Yes.
But like I agree. I think Eternals, I do like it because I think it's epic. It's kind of it's weird and unique. And that's why I kind of liked it, is that it's like, I don't know of any other story other than vampire stories where people just live for fucking ever.
Right.
And like, I was like, oh, this is why Chloe Zhao like signed up for this fucking thing, you know? Like, 'cause you're like, this is a unique Marvel thing.
Right.
And I see what she's trying to do,
felt like
but it just misses it.
It just felt like,
I think it's good, but it misses.
It felt like she wanted something and Marvel Studios wanted something, and whatever those two things were didn't really mesh together.
Yeah.
Like it felt like there was a tug.
Yeah, because otherwise, the flip side of that, I loved Black Widow.
Yeah, no, we have a whole episode.
Yeah, we liked Black Widow.
I liked Black Widow. I liked Shang-Chi.
Which is so surprising. Yeah, like, you know, like I think Black Widow is one of those things where a lot of people wrote it off, and and you're like, no, this is an action thriller.
The problem is where it was released.
Yeah.
If it was released after Civil War, people would have loved it.
Right? It would have been just like, here's Black Widow. You know,
here's the Black Widow movie, and it's fantastic. And, you know, because, like, Yelena is great, and, like, she would have been on ice for a while, but...
I like that she's kind of the Young Avengers version of what's going on. You're like, all right. Because they're obviously doing that. They're like Young Avengers time. They're like,
well, they have to retool. I think it's not necessarily going to be like full-on Young Avengers. Like, they might call them that initially, but it's not going to be like Young Avengers is like a separate team.
Yeah.
They're just going to come in and slot in because basically what's going to happen is the world's going to come crashing down, and they're the only ones left.
Yeah, they're the only ones who can handle it. Yeah, I agree. I think that's obviously there's something bigger coming, and you're just like,
yeah.
And I think that's the only things that I like about Eternals is like the the things that I think really, it's like it's very segmented off from the Marvel universe,
right?
But at least it finally like it connects when you're like, oh, Celestials are a real thing. So that means Galactus is a real thing,
right?
And you're like, and for some reason we're referencing Blade. You're you're like, wait, hold on a minute. Which I did think was weird because I was like, wait, what?
I like the way it looks. I like the cast, and I like that this is probably the movie that's looked the most like Jack Kirby's art.
Yes,
sure.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I was just like,
yeah. I kind of agree. It's like I had a good time, but I don't know if it should have been on Disney Plus. It should have been it just wasn't where it should
But
have
there have been both better and worse movies in the MCU.
Yeah. To move on, games wise, I've been playing Pokemon Arceus. Love it. Okay. It's actually a lot of fun. I won't get too deep on it because I think we might do a full episode on it. But I do think it's the shot in the arm. I don't think it's a perfect game. But I do think it's a harder Pokemon game finally. Changing up the formula and actually like changes up the battle system in a way that actually works instead of just being like, we're just gonna throw in more Pokemon. You're gonna fight more Pokemon at once. And the only thing I will say is that I do wish there was multiplayer battles because I do get that there's still trading, but you're like, you introduce this cool new battle system and I can't use it to kick my friend's ass. Like, you're like, come on. And I hope it's one of those things that's just DLC, but who knows? Who knows? We live in a world where we're gonna bring up the Nintendo Direct that we get DLC fucking 10 years later. So almost a decade later, we're getting fucking DLC for Mario Kart 8. So you're just like, okay. That's happening.
Sure.
But yeah, I will say that it's not perfect looking. Obviously, there's graphical problems, but there is some beautiful moments.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this is a pretty game. But yeah, I would, if for anybody who's like on the fence with it, if you were looking for a good Pokemon game, this might be
I am very much of the opinion that, like, man, the Pokemon games just keep on getting worse. No, this is not just a nostalgia thing. They're just actually getting worse. I might jump ship if they don't pick up the goddamn slack. And so I was waiting for my more cynical friends who kind of echo my thoughts on it.
So I haven't played them. I'm skipping it because I don't particularly care. I picked up Diamond and Pearl, or one of them. I don't remember which.
Yeah.
But... you're right.
Yeah, that one's like, a little copy and paste too much.
But I never played like all. I haven't played all of them, right? And so I played Red, Blue, Yellow, and then Gold, Silver, Crystal. Like that's what I had. But then I never got a Game Boy Advanced, so I didn't get a Game Boy Advance. So Ruby, Sapphire, didn't play those, and then I didn't get a DS till like much later. So it was like I played like Black and White, and the problem is that it kind of tops out around there.
I think so.
And the Hey You Pikachu edition. Let's go Pikachu.
Let's go Pikachu.
Let's go.
Yeah, Hey You Pikachu.
Very different game.
Wow, different game.
Different game. Let's go Pikachu was like, oh, this was fun.
Why couldn't I talk to Pikachu in Let's Go Pikachu? I should be able to talk to him like Let's Go Pikachu.
I know.
With Hey You Pikachu. Damn, that would have missed
It
opportunity.
would have missed opportunity. And it's just like, okay, so now you're going to give us this like brand new game. I never finished Sword and Shield.
Yeah, I think that, so if Sword and Shield made you think like, oh, this is cool with the outdoor areas, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
This feels better. This feels better because it's finally like, they're just wandering around. It's not like, that's where they are. That's where they are. It's like, nope, they're everywhere and they're aggressive. Yeah. Like, and for some reason, Paris's, the fucking little crab creatures, wicked aggressive. I don't know why. It's like a Skyrim crab. They just are like, you motherfucker, I don't care if you're the Dragonborn. I'm going to kill you, bitch.
Yeah. They are infected by a fungus, like Last of Us style. So maybe that's why they're so
they will literally chase you across the map. Like none of the other some of the bigger Pokemon will chase you. Like Snorlax, if he sees you, he'll hyper beam you from and it's like a Goku, like, ah! And you're just like, oh, whoa. And you're just like running away, and you're like, no, please don't. And he's just like, and you're like, okay, this got scary quick.
What kind of horrors do we send our 10-year-olds out on?
That's the crazy thing about this game. I will say, this is the first Pokemon game. You're not 10 years old. You're 15.
Oh, wow. What a age jump.
Big age jump. And the funniest bit is like all the other Pokemon, they're like, oh, get out there. Lead your best life. This one's like, if you don't pass this test, we'll leave you outside to die.
Yeah, of course.
And you're like, oh my. Yeah. And then, of course, you pass the test and become the greatest there ever was.
That's fun.
But what have you been playing?
Not much. Because I've been working on the book so goddamn much, I never have time to play anything anymore. But when I do, I've just been revisiting Banjo-Kazooie because that went up on the Nintendo Switch Online, and I've wanted to replay that for a while. So I'm doing that and chipping away at Ori and the Will of the Wisps. That's it. I'm probably going to get Legends.
Nice.
Yeah. Very fun. Last night bought Pajama Sam.
Oh my God, yes.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh no, I already beat it.
Really? So it's like 4 hours
Oh
long.
yeah,
I saw that
it's a point and click adventure for 8-year-olds.
I'm probably gonna fucking buy Putt Putt and Spy Fox.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Putt Putt. I was like, ooh.
So-
that unlocked it like a.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, Putt Putt.
I never had Pajama Sam. Like the only time I ever got to play Pajama Sam was like if we went to like the science museum and got to go to the computer lab, right?
For some reason it was there.
Yeah, they had all of those games. But I'm now starting the crusade because Spy Fox, Putt Putt, Freddy Fish, Pajama Sam, they're all everywhere.
And you're like,
The
yes.
real Avengers.
Yeah, the real Avengers.
But the thing that is not anywhere to be seen is backyard baseball.
Seriously, I know you bring it up every time we talk about video games, but you're exactly right, man.
Yep,
Where the fuck is backyard
I
baseball?
am not talking about backyard football that has Brett Favre and Steve McNair. You got to work out licenses with the NFL. I'm not talking about the 3D backyard baseball that has Derek Jeter and David Ortiz. And again, licenses you have to work out. I'm talking about the original one. The original one.
Where there's all original characters.
It's all original characters, and it's all just made up nonsense names. Like you're just like the cool wombats, and you're like pink, and it's just like who cares?
Talk about great
Look,
team
if
customization.
you're telling me that the only reason that they are not releasing this game is because the commentator is Vinny the Gooch, I will never forgive you. Look, no children are going to play this game. Throw a mature rating on it if you're worried about kids saying gooch, okay? Just do it because you know that everybody that's going to be playing this game is over 25.
Yeah, right. You're like, come on. Oh my God, no! It's so
This isn't for you. This is for us.
This is for me.
Pablo Sanchez should be in the Hall of Fame.
Baseball Hall of Fame voted in Pablo Sanchez.
Yeah.
So true though.
God.
He's a god.
Yeah.
Talk about the goat.
Other than that, I've been playing Yakuza 0.
Oh,
I haven't played any of the Yakuza games. I walked
I've
into
never played them either. I've heard great things.
I'm like halfway through Yakuza Kiwami, which is like the
remake of 1.
remake of the one. And I like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I need to get through like Kiwami 2 and 3 a little bit before I even bother with 0, just because.
Oh, see, I
mechanics.
just started in I started chronologically because I said fuck it, let's just do chronologically.
Yeah, you're like, fuck it.
You know, I walked into a micro center the other day.
Whoa.
I know, as all good stories start.
No, I'm just like, wait a minute.
But I walked in and I was like, because I have an editing PC, but the graphics card in that is not particularly great. I don't feel like standing in line at 4:00 in the morning to like beat up some sort of like elderly man that's trying to like resell it.
The bots on Amazon. You're like,
Yeah, right. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying. I don't care enough. It works fine. But I walked in and I went to where the graphics cards were because I've been like seeing more and more like back on the shelves and stuff. It seems to be
the
getting
chip shortage.
yeah,
Might be finishing.
yeah. And so I went up there and I walked in and they didn't have any of the graphics cards.
Huh.
In its place was a wall of Xbox Series X's. And I asked the guy, I go, what's the deal with these? I'm assuming they're already spoken for. And he goes, you want one? And I go, yeah, well, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. So, I'm also playing through Halo, like all the Halo games.
Oh yeah, the Master Collection.
Yeah.
I've been doing the same thing. We're on Reach right now. We
Yeah.
like, just started Reach.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We even said it last episode because we were talking about Boba Fett, and of course there's a giant Halo in it, and you're like, well, we gotta talk about Halo right now.
Yeah, sure.
You're like, we gotta bring up Halo real
Sure.
quick. Have you seen the commercial for the Halo
Yeah.
show? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I'm excited. I don't know what it's going to be, and I think that's more fun that way. Sometimes less is more, and not knowing things is
better.
Is better.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
I agree. I am worried because me and Deshaun have said it, is that Cortana looks weird. They're like, did we order the Karen edition?
Yeah,
Cortana.
Cortana looks like she's about to yell at my waiter.
Yeah.
And there is definitely a 2001 Chevy Silverado in the background of one of the fight scenes in the trailer.
Sure.
And you're like, how did it get out in space? You're like,
Sure.
You're like, wait a minute, aren't we on an alien planet? You're like, unless that thing just lives forever, which
It does. It
is
runs
quite the
forever.
ad. You're
It
like,
runs forever. Chevy, like a rock.
like a rock. 2050, like a rock.
Like a rock.
And then let's talk about some current event stuff real quick. You want to talk about the Anime Awards?
Yeah, I just want to bitch about some of the wins.
Okay, who won?
I'm gonna keep it very, very brief.
Okay.
Jujutsu Kaisen should have been out and beat out Demon Slayer for every single one of the categories.
Yeah.
Also,
I haven't watched Demon Slayer yet, but there's no way it's better than Jujutsu Kaisen.
It was unfair because Demon Slayer basically got 2 slots because they did the movie for a bunch of nominations. And they did the next season as a bunch of nominations, but
it's like Disney. They're like, I'm gonna have 3 animated movies in the best animated category. How can we not win?
But the new season is just the movie again because they retold it and they didn't even reanimate it. They literally chopped it up.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's awful.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for the fans of the show. They're like, I already paid for this.
How did this lose out? That's basically my thing.
Yeah,
it's just
like,
yelling.
You're like,
yelling about people liking Demon Slayer so much for some goddamn reason.
I mean, it's huge. They're saying Universal in Japan's going to have a Demon Slayer ride, which I'm like, holy shit, that's huge.
And the thing is, it's really just down to, because from what I hear, the manga's not even that great. It's really just UFO Table, which is a great studio, just being like, we're gonna animate the shit out of this thing. Story-wise, who gives a shit? Characters I couldn't give a fuck about, but the fights, sometimes that's enough.
And I mean, if you have to sum up most anime fans, you're like, does it have good fights?
But does it have good fights?
Does it have good fights though? And then
I'm over here like Jujutsu Kaisen. It's like, well, it has that and other stuff
and a plot. You're like, wait a minute. Yeah, so I mean,
that's more or less
it. Okay,
I thought it was gonna be like 2 seconds.
So we'll go through quickly the Nintendo Direct we got going on this so 2 weeks ago from now, because this will be next Friday that this is posted. Sorry guys, a little bit of peek behind the fucking scenes here. But the Nintendo Direct happened the other day, and I want to say, as an RPG guy, I loved this Direct. It's like one of those they were like, everyone else, suck it. They were like RPGs, that's what we're doing today. Right. But the big highlights were there's a new Mario Chargers, which
I can't wait.
Strikers, sorry. Yeah. I'm mixing up the fucking names. But Strikers, I mean, what a great comeback, because you're like, okay, that's a dead franchise. They're never going to do anything with that, which is ridiculous because it's the world's biggest sport and you're not going to make a fucking Mario game about it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, especially from what I hear from you, because I'm not a sports guy or a sports game guy, but I constantly hear you complain about, like, how bad the Mario sports games have gotten.
Tennis was not.
Oh, it was awful.
Was rough.
So,
and I haven't touched golf yet.
Golf isn't great.
No.
So, the problem is there's like this weird, like, open world, like it's like the whole course is open and you're like running around like trying to hit the ball, like
kind of like race golf.
Yeah, there's like terrain and stuff. Like, no thank you.
So like too much. Strikers seems like the thing that people kind of need right now.
Right? They need they need the revival. I hope that's what it really is that it really like is able to like save the series, because that's the thing, is it could be Mario Kart is the biggest franchise of any Mario franchise. It's bigger than even the Mario games. That's why, if not to skip around, but like Mario Kart getting these DLC things, yes, it sucks, we're not getting Mario Kart 9, but how could you beat selling, this is their #1 game of all time. All time.
Well, isn't this the whole point of DLC?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the whole point of DLC is not to like necessarily get to Mario 15.
Yeah.
But all right, we're in Mario 8. Everybody seems to like this version. So we're just going to keep giving you more stuff for this version.
It's just funny that it came so late, because I think people would have been more on board when it first got ported over to the Switch.
They even say it there. They're like, thanks for buying this game since 2017. Like, and you're like, oh my God.
No one was ever against DLC, but it's just one of those things where like, now you're doing it?
Right.
Okay.
You're like, okay, that's what's happening. But I think the best part about it is I think it lessens the dead punch of how expensive the family pass is for the expansion pass. Because I buy that and I give it to a lot of my friends I filled up the family. That
was my first thought.
Even Ape Arcade has it.
I was just like, oh. Yeah. I was gonna buy it, but sure.
For me, it's like it's one of those things where I already get to play with my friends with the family pass, so I don't really care about like it being so much. But them being like, Animal Crossing's for free, you're like, okay, but I don't play Animal Crossing. But them being like, Mario Kart's free, you're like, let's go.
Right.
Like, you're telling me that I get free DLC for the next 2 years, basically? I'm fine with that. I'm not as angry, you know?
Right.
Like, you're just like, You're like, that's what I wanted. I did think Splatoon 3 kind of looked really boring. They showed off Splatoon 3, and I was kind of like, I love Splatoon, but this is just Splatoon 2. This is not, you didn't step it up. You Call of Duty did, where you were like, we did it, so we're just going to reskin it, and we'll just send it out. And then I thought one of the most surprising ports that came out that was No Man's Sky going to be on Switch. That's not going to work.
Don't care.
I love my Nintendo Switch. That is not going to work on Switch. That's a procedurally generated game. There's no way the Switch can handle that.
No.
You know, like, I love you, Switch. I love you, but there's no fucking way.
No, Nintendo, you nestle right into the everybody's other console. Right. And the fact that you merged your, like, actual console with your handheld platform, very nice.
Very smart.
Very nice.
Very smart.
But it's like, no, my Xbox Series X is where I'm going to.
My PS4 is my main console. My PS5 will be my main console. That's on the side. Frank is the only guy I know who's just like, the Switch, that's my whole thing.
Once the Steam Deck comes out, I'm good. I got it pre-ordered. So I'll be back. Sure. I'm in, boys. I'm in. I got my PC. But I mean, obviously the most important, as the Gundam guy, they finally give me an English language fucking Gundam game on Switch, which I know there's 2 Gundam games in Japan and they do have English dubs, but I'm not spending $70
It cracked me up
just
that
to
it
get
was
that game.
SD Gundam specifically, because that's actually one of the few I watched, like the weird chibi one.
Oh, that one was weird.
It is weird. I do think it's weird that we're not doing the full thing, but it's like, it's a Switch game, so it could be for kids. So you're like, I see why you did SD Gundam, but I would have rather the big Gundam. But whatever, beside the point.
I think everybody would have rather the big ones.
You're like, just give me the big ones. The cringiest thing, I think, in the entire conference was the free Disney kart racer. Even if this is free, I don't want this on my Switch. I'm like, no, this ain't gonna work.
So I missed this. Are you telling me that we have another U2 situation?
Yes. No. It's just free to play. It's not gonna be like.
Okay, because for those of you who have no idea what I'm referencing, at some point on our iPhones, they just dropped a U2 album and we couldn't delete it.
Which is the biggest, weirdest flex that Apple's ever done.
Yeah.
It was like, why? What?
Why?
You're like, why?
You too?
You're like, these guys? No, Disney Speedstorm. It is not. It's free, so that's why I'm not going to put it on my Switch instead of spending money, because I'm not going to spend money.
Yeah.
But they showed off Captain Jack doing a dab after he sent something, and I was kind of like,
no, thank you.
You were like, what's happening? I love Disney, but what's happening?
Yeah,
stop it. I'm sure they'll have Encanto characters, which will be like, hey, there you go.
Oh.
The funniest bit was like Mickey doing a flip after he did something, and I was like, oh, there we go. Like,
sure.
You know, like, you're like, what's happening? But beside the point, they're bringing MLB The Show to Switch, which is the first time a PlayStation exclusive is coming to Switch. We've had Xbox exclusives,
right?
But not
the amount
any
when
PlayStation.
I still worked at a GameStop, the amount of like salty Xbox owners who just wanted to play baseball.
Right, baseball, man. And then we had Triangle Strategy drop a whole demo that's 3 chapters, and if you played the other demo, it was 1 chapter and it was 3 hours long.
Oh no!
I don't know how long this fucking demo is. It's like a 9-hour long demo. You're like.
But you can transfer your save data, so.
Oh, you didn't say that. I didn't know that. I might have to do that later.
Yeah, you can transfer your save data, which is the smart way to do it.
That is. I'm not going to drop 9 hours into a demo and then do it again in the fucking game. I was like, wait, hold on. Okay, that's actually really great. We played the demo before, I think me and Deshaun have said it. It's good.
It's the tactics RPG that I've wanted.
Okay,
and it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's just that 2D 0.5 HD, and you're like, ooh, that's nice stuff. They are for more mech things. They are doing Front Mission 1 and 2, which is another tactical RPG. Which I was like, you know me, Switch. You know me so well. I was like, a mech with a tactical RPG. I'm so down. The big news, obviously, other than Mario Kart, was the showing off of Earthbound. Finally, Earthbound has come to Nintendo Switch. Both of them.
That was
fun.
That one.
I've never played
that
them,
one,
so I don't know it. I don't get it.
That one I feel bad about.
Yeah.
Because what people expected out of that trailer was that they were going to finally localize Mother 3, which is the third of the Earthbound games.
Oh, so this was a big slap, wasn't it?
They built
up.
Oh no,
I didn't even understand that.
Earthbound is coming. I'm like, okay, cool. Earthbound Beginnings. I'm like, oh, okay. Are we about to go for the trifecta and finally fucking localize this third game that came out on the Game Boy Advance?
No, not for free, bro.
And then it was just the first two. It's just like, oh, so I guess nope. You're never gonna bring that third game.
And the Reddit clarified, you're not supposed to play the beginnings first, even though I know Earthbound came out first, but like the beginnings, you're like, oh, do I play that prequel first? You know, like
Earthbound is Mother 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was like.
Beginnings is Mother 1, but weird localization release order.
Stupid.
Wait, hold on. And then the big news for me, the one I was already excited for Gundam. I was already like, this is the shit. This direct is amazing. But then they're like, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It was my early, very much the best game on Switch. I know everyone says Breath of the Wild. I love Xenoblade Chronicles, and maybe I'm just a weeb, but I fucking love that game, and it really blew my mind. And the same team worked on Breath of the Wild, the same team worked on the new Pokemon, and it's kind of one of those things where you're like, these guys can't fucking miss, bro. And you're like, please let me see more. And like, I'm very excited to see what they'll do with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I know you haven't played it.
I'm still going through the first one, and it's slow.
It's a long ass game.
Never played them.
Xenoblade 2, I loved it, but I said that it gets good after 30 hours, which is not a very good recommendation.
Sure.
Never a good recommendation.
It has the same energy. It's just like, I don't like the first season, but season 2 on, just wait. I'm like, thanks.
Thanks, I guess I'll work.
Look, season 1, fantastic. Season 2, pretty good. Season 3, 4, and 5, awful. But season 6, the best season of television. No, you don't get to slap me in the face with a moist sausage for 3 years and then be like, but the last one.
Well, we really nailed it.
We chewed you good in the end, right? It's like, oh.
The thing I was excited about with the Direct was a new port of Chrono Cross.
Yeah. I know everyone was pretty fucking hyped about that.
I saw the Direct late because I was at work. So I go to check my Discord, and I just see like my friend being like, Chrono in 2022? I'm like, huh? Chrono.
Chrono Trigger.
So then I fucking went back to my desk and just put it on YouTube in the corner while I kept working. And I'm like, okay, Chrono Cross Radiant Dreamers Edition. The fact that they called it the Radiant Dreamers Edition has me very excited. There was an in-between sort of like bridging the gap between Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross like visual novel that was never properly localized. So
it seems to be the theme.
That seems to be either incorporating it in here, or you're sort of like remaking that content for that game.
And I think we're forgetting to bring up the actual printing money of this Direct. They finally releasing Wii U Sports, Nintendo Switch Sports on this. I think this is the moneymaker. This is the real, like, this sells, Wii Sports is the reason why Wii is still one of the highest selling consoles right now. Present day.
It's keeping retirement homes afloat everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, like, I was going to trade in my old Switch, but now I'm like, do I hand it down to my grandparents now? Do like, just they play Switch Sports with me? Like, what's going on? But it's one of those things where I was just like, this is how you know we're at the end of the cycle of the Switch, but they still know. Here's the money. Right. You know, like they're like, here's the fucking
That's
money.
Even for me, like, who doesn't play sports games, I will play the fuck out of a new Wii Sports, basically.
And I like that
especially
they had
since
a roadmap.
they added badminton. Fucking badminton? That's the only sport I actually like playing.
Right? And I was like, volleyball? Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, let's go. Let's give this a shot. But to move on to Oscars, just really quick. I know you already said you were surprised by those choices.
Yeah, I've seen 5 of the Best Picture nominees, and 3 of them were at the Coolidge. It was not intentional.
Have you seen any?
So I am a member of the Screen Actors Guild,
Oh.
and so I get all of the screeners for the Screen Actors Guild Award. So I just wait. I just wait till like right about now, and then I just watch them all at home. And then with the exception of like 1 or 2 of them, like I don't think I got Drive My Car. And
I saw Drive My
so
Car.
like,
Very good.
so like I'll have to go out and see that. But basically, I'll go watch all the ones I got, and then
Yeah. The good news is that even if you're, for us poor people who aren't in the SAG or anywhere else, can't go see the movies, they're on most streaming services.
Yeah. Also, AMC's A-list is amazing.
Really?
It's absolutely amazing.
No, it's always the ad in front. And I'm always
everybody that is listening to this probably has or at one point had a gym membership that they still have, and never went.
Yep.
Right? The fat tax. So it's very similar. It's $20 a month, and it's just the I can go see a movie at any time tax.
That's nice.
And so it's $20 a month. And
AMC's the closest theater to me.
Yeah, and so it's 3 movies a week. What? So every week you can see 3 movies. You can see
it's way better than Movie Pass ever was.
Yeah.
And fuck Movie Pass, guys.
Well, no. Movie Pass was you could see a movie every day. Oh no.
They're bankrupt.
When I had Movie Pass, because I read about it and I was just like,
you're like, wow, that's nuts.
Oh yeah, all right, I'll sign up for this and see if this works. And you could go see multiple movies a day. Oh, and so then it caught on.
What were they thinking?
Yeah, and then it caught on. And then it was, okay, you can only see 1 movie a day. And then it caught on still. And they were like, okay, so you can only see 1 movie once.
Yeah, and now they're like, then they at the end, they were like, you can only see the movies we made. And
yeah.
Like, oh, no,
I think
guys.
I saw an article the other day that they're trying to relaunch again.
Yeah, and now they were
Movie
saying
Pass,
you watch ads, and then they pay you for watching ads. You're like, that's not
no,
Movie
thank
Pass,
you.
bro.
Especially when I can just give AMC $20.
Yeah.
And I can just go see whatever I want. And then you accumulate the points, right? Because it's their rewards card. Yeah. So you're going, so you get points for the ticket purchase.
Oh.
So it's like you get an allowance, I guess. And so
Thanks, Daddy.
Yeah, like you get an allowance, so it like counts the price of the ticket.
Wow.
For the points.
Oh, shit.
And then on top of that, you get like, because it's A-list, you get like 5,000 times more points when you buy concessions. So like if you go once a week, right? Every like 3rd trip to the movies, you get a free large popcorn.
What the fuck?
You know what I mean?
I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
Not sponsored. Not sponsored, but holy shit.
So it is way better to just do that because you get to see movies whenever you want. Now,
most streaming services.
Yeah. Now the problem is that there are chunks. Like
there's like months where something doesn't play.
Like
that you're like, ugh.
The end of like all of December into like all of January, there's just a lot of garbage, and it's like, look, I don't want to see this glorified Hallmark movie, So like, cool, I got you $20, but then there's like the summer where it's just like, oh no, I'm seeing a movie like every weekend.
That's awesome.
And you know what I mean? And so
that makes so much sense to me.
It evens out.
It sounds good to me. I'm down for it. I only, for the movies I've seen for Best Picture, I've seen West Side Story and Dune and Coda. We did a whole episode on Coda.
Yeah. I've seen Coda.
We've done our Dune episode.
I've seen Drive My Car. I've seen Dune. I've seen Licorice Pizza and Nightmare Alley.
But I will say I was surprised to see West Side Story up there, but it does deserve to be up there. You're like, holy shit, I did not see this coming.
I was going to watch Belfast soonish, so I'm like, oh,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah, it's streaming everywhere. That's the thing is most of these are streaming. Most of them are somewhere, which is actually surprising. Usually it's such like a... What do I do to see all these fucking Academy Award-winning movies? And Hulu's like, I got 3 of them.
Yeah,
and you're like, what? What, Hulu? You're not supposed to have any of these.
Yeah.
You're like, I got a couple.
I'm Disney now.
I'm Disney. Yeah, that's really it. It's Disney being like, I guess we'll give you something. And
yeah.
they're like,
well, here's the thing. I have 20th Century Fox now, so I might as well put it somewhere.
Dude, it was so weird going to see Nightmare Alley and seeing the Searchlight Pictures logo that didn't have the word Fox on it.
Yeah, you're like, wait.
It was odd to me. It was very odd.
But yeah, to just kind of sum it up, I'm excited for these Oscars. I think this is actually a pretty decent selection.
Sure.
You know, like I think it's pretty solid. I do. Oh my God, you just made me remember Cobra Starship Guilty Pleasure. That's the fucking song.
This was the one I was thinking of.
We're gonna get copyright struck.
Oh yeah, maybe we won't do that. But it was Good Girls Go Bad.
Yes, Good Girls Go Bad.
Good Girls Go Bad.
That's a good one. Damn, that's a good one. But pretty much we're gonna do a whole Oscar episode. But we
should also do a whole Cobra Starship episode.
We might have to. We might have to.
Oh, there it goes.
Oh no!
Also, just on cue, I go, we should do a Cobra Starship episode. Do.
It knew. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for getting filthy and casual with us. And thank you, Eddie, for being on here.
Thank you for having me.
Plug yourself. Plug whatever you want to plug.
I am the Eddie McCabe on all forms of social media. You can find me hosting One If by Land, Two If by Tea on the Asylum podcast network. If you search One If by Land, Two If by Tea, any social media platform, you'll find it. Or head on over to improvasylum.com. There's the podcast tab. You can find it there. Well, I do stand-up comedy.
Yes, which is great.
So you should come and check that out or check it out on my YouTube page.
Yeah, I do. I recommend that, actually. I've been loving it. It's like,
yeah. I recently was talking about, I was doing a set in this Italian restaurant basement in South Boston. And I was just talking about how we've now officially entered my favorite time of the year, which is the news 24-hour broadcast of snowstorms.
Yeah.
So
you're like, here it is.
This is
another
it.
snowstorm.
This is it.
Snowstorm.
Oh no, it's them sending out rookie reporters into random towns to check the snowfall, and then they cut to them and they're like, "How's it going?" And they're like, "Well,
not well.
It's still snowing."
Like, it's fucking snowing here. But you can check out The Warp Shelf anywhere you find podcasts. You can find us on GalaxyGeek.com. You can subscribe to the YouTube here. Move the algorithm. Make it happen. You can find me and Deshaun on social medias. I'm Yep Frank there.
Monica.
And Yep Gundam if you want some Gundam. And guys, thank you so much for a great.
You know what? I'm gonna plug my figure channel
because
it's hidden. It's secret. I don't talk about it. But it's Fast Eddie Figures on Instagram.
Oh, shit, dude! the leak has happened.
Yeah,
it has gone out. Oh, absolutely, give it a follow, guys. Thank you so much, and Eddie, thank you for being here.
Thank you,
and have a great rest of your week.